If you're struggling to overcome maladaptive daydreaming, I wanted to give you 5 ideas today for things to do to replace maladaptive daydreaming. So my name's Sam and I struggled with maladaptive daydreaming for about 30 years for most of my life. I have been getting professional help and now I'm on the road to recovery. But without maladaptive daydreaming, you have like a big gap in what you think about and what you do with all your time. So this is kind of for people who are like on that road to recovery and they want to replace their maladaptive daydreaming with more quality thoughts, more engaging thoughts that don't make them feel so bad, or like you don't feel like you've been sucked into some kind of time vortex, so it's more productive. It's really just about improving the quality of your thoughts and filling that space that maladaptive daydreaming would have been taken up. So number 1 is to create a fun curriculum for learning. I think, you need to like feel inspired and you want to identify like what it is you would like to be interested in. When you're maladaptive daydreaming, all your thoughts are going towards that, like your waking hours. Like, I know what it's like. You will just be playing the same scenes over and over again, and you feel like you don't have good quality thoughts, or at least, that's the way I felt. So I would really suggest thinking about what is something I would like to learn about, and then actually planning out a curriculum for yourself that's going to take you maybe over like a few months. So for me, I decided I wanted to read Shakespeare because it always comes up in quizzes. It's obviously super famous, and I just thought, I sort of know rough ideas of what things are about, but I've never actually read all the plays, and I thought, that's a good ambitious thing. I think you want to give yourself an ambitious goal, and one that's going to enrich your mind and, I guess like just make you feel more connected and, more knowledgeable. So for me, I'll just show you like my schedule just now for Shakespeare. So this is what I've kind of wrote out, and I think like if you decide what you want to work on, then you should write out a plan. This is going to go to December to read like the main plays, and then hopefully after that I'm going to read the lesser known plays and just really build my whole knowledge of Shakespeare. So I've decided like to deep dive for a week, and that's going to be the main thing I'm going to think about for the week, and the main thing I'm going to learn about. I'm going to read it, I'm going to watch it, I've engaged in research for it, and it just like keeps my brain on something that I think's actually going to be beneficial to know. So obviously I've just chosen Shakespeare just because I've done drama. I have a kind of vague interest in it, but never has my interest been so strong that I've decided to actually read it and study it. But I think, that's like a really good goal for me to have. So for you, obviously it might be a different goal, but think of a kind of lofty, challenging goal in terms of something that you could research and that you could create a curriculum for, so that you have sort of like this onward plan of what you're going to learn about. Number 2 is create something after consuming. So a lot of the times, if we're not maladaptive daydreaming, we might just be like scrolling, we might be kind of consuming things that aren't that valuable to us, and that's fine. I actually think, you should be able to like switch off your brain and relax if you can switch off your brain. But if you are always just consuming and never creating, you're not being able to kind of express yourself, you're not challenging yourself. And I tend to just like feel bad if I'm not like, I write. So it's really important for me that I do some writing, and in particularly I've been going through like quite a long period of writer's block in terms of having a big project. So I thought, it's actually quite a good thing if maybe I commit to, writing a small poem every day just for, something I consume. So I don't need to be digging deep within myself, but I'm turning like that consumption into creation. So, just to give an example, I am reading Hamlet this week, so I've wrote a short poem on Hamlet, and then, the following day I watched Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, which is something I wanted to see. I wrote a poem about that. I saw a painting from Leonardo da Vinci just on an art app. It's quite good if you have an art app downloading, that can kind of inspire you as well. And I wrote a poem about that. And then I watched The Traitors and I thought, I should write a poem about this as well. So it's just like everything. And it's actually been quite nice because I'm just like doing this before bed now. And it's just like a nice way to feel like you've created something from the day. Even, to be honest, if you're struggling to stop maladaptive daydreaming, you want to write something about that, I think it's quite a powerful thing just to get things on words, because a lot of times if you're a maladaptive daydream, you're so much in your head, you're so much like, you're just not, you feel like you're not producing anything, and a lot of the times you can just get so down about like the wasted time and feeling lazy. And even if you just produce like a small drawing, a small doodle, a small poem, a small piece of writing, then you're going to have done something creative every day. And like when you look back on that, like I've written, a poem a day for a week now, and I want to continue this for the rest of the year. When I look back on these next few months, it doesn't matter, if I spent a lot of time wasted, I've actually produced something at the end of the months that I can look back on. So I think it's really beneficial just to put something physical into the world. Number 3 is to engage your curiosity and ask questions. So when we maladaptive daydream, we really just get sucked into our own story and we replay things over and over, and that takes up all of our brain space, and we forget to kind of be curious about what's around us. So I have found it really helpful to just sort of, particularly when you're on walks, because on walks and being outside, and if you're listening to music, you're going to feel like you want to maladaptive daydream. So what I've been doing is just sort of asking myself like questions about things that are surrounding me, and just kind of trying to engage my brain a little bit. Like when I see something and I'll think about it and I'll ask questions, and then, it's something I can look up later. And, I just think you feel, the reality is like when you maladaptive daydream, it can be really unpleasant and feel very overwhelming and unproductive, and you could then get into a cycle of beating yourself up for it. And if you, instead of doing that, or you are being creative, you are thinking about things, you are asking questions, your brain's just going to feel more engaged, and then, you've got more things that you feel like you've learned and could talk about. So I think just curiosity in general is really important just for having a healthy brain. Number 4 is to identify your role models, or identify what it is your daydreams are kind of trying to tell you about who you want to be. And not necessarily you can be that person exactly. I think you do need to accept that you can't be the ideal person in your daydreams, or it's very difficult to be that. But what I do is try and think about like the role models and the people that I'm interested in, the people I tend to get obsessed with. What is it about them that interests me? And it really is reflecting back on the fact of like, this is the kind of person I want to be. So I actually just think to myself, okay, like what would this person do? Or, if this person could see me now. I've done a video about maladaptive daydreaming, this feeling of being watched, and a good thing to think about is like, if this person could see me, like if they could see me like not doing anything, if they could see me depressed, like crying, like beating myself up, like this is not, how I would want to show myself to that person. So who would I want to be if, that person, if I came into contact with that person? I would want to be more rounded. I would want to have more to say. I would want to seem more curious. I would want to seem more alive. And that's I think a theme for me and like the role models that I have is like people who are very alive, people who are creating, people who are enthusiastic and talking about creating and producing things. And you know, if that's my role model and like deep down that's actually who I want to be myself, then you know, I need to be taking those steps to be living that. You know, I can't just be like, oh, I'm going to maladaptive daydream for, you know, years and years and years, and then, you know, one day if I need to turn it on, I'll turn it on. It's not really like that, because maladaptive daydreaming brings a lot of shame and really breaks down your confidence because you are not existing as yourself. So even, you know, from the outside, if say I'm just thinking about Hamlet as opposed to doing my maladaptive daydreaming, like there's no difference from the outside, but it actually does make a difference to your brain and the way you feel about yourself and the way you're going to hold yourself. And if you think about role models and, you know, how you would want to present yourself, how you would want to be perceived to that person, then it's important to kind of live like that as often as you can, because again, like maladaptive daydreaming will just kind of eat you up, and that's why it's important to like try to be more present in your thoughts and engage in things that interest you. And number 5, the last one, is make sure to plan out your day, even if you're actually not doing it. So I've gone through like serious, you know, depressive episodes where I, you know, have nothing on like for the whole weekend, and you know, I would wake up depressed. I was maladaptive daydream. I would not want to get out of bed because I could do the best maladaptive daydreaming in my bed. Like that's where it felt the safest. And I would just be thinking, I've got nothing to do. I'm so lonely. I'm so depressed. You know, I would do all this in my mind, and I would just like bog myself down for like the whole weekend. And that's you just wasted a weekend because you're beating yourself up about things. And I've done that so often. My psychiatrist said to me, don't go into a day without a plan. And I think, you know, that's been really, really helpful, because even if you can change yourself, I think, you know, when you maladaptive daydreaming, you think, oh, on the other side of that is somebody who's going to be maybe more social, doing more exciting things, like just, you know, living a more exciting life. And probably not. Like you probably are inclined to be an introspective person and maybe want to kind of have a sort of quiet life, and that's actually okay. But you want to keep the quality of your thoughts to be quite strong and supportive of being a confident person. So even if you're not technically doing anything, still block out your day and think about, you know, what do I want to learn about in these hours? Do I want to go to a coffee shop? Do I want to read this book? Do I want to watch this thing? Like actually have a plan. I mean, I kind of woke up today and was like, oh, there's so much I want to do, and there's not even enough time to do it. I wanted to make this YouTube video. I wanted to go to a coffee shop. I wanted to like continue reading Hamlet and making notes. I have another book I want to read. Like this is all, at the end of the day, if somebody asked me what I did at the weekend, I'd be like, oh, nothing much. But like actually in my mind, like I have a full schedule of like creative things that I want to do, and you've got to, I think, admit to yourself like that kind of thing actually does make you happy. If you know, have a creative soul, you do like to read, you do like to write, you do, you know, want to spend that time with yourself. You know, there's different ways you can spend time with yourself, and some of them are very bad for you and some of them can be really enriching, and it's really important that you know, go down that path of enriching yourself, because it does impact how you bring yourself out into the world. I really think it does. So that is what I would say, is like definitely plan out your day, block out your day, like in the hours, you know, whatever it is that's going to make you get out of bed and feel okay with the day ahead. And you know, if you need to clean, like think about, you know, ways you can make that more entertaining. If you're going to be listening to like a podcast or, you know, listening to music, if you're able to, you know, kind of change music to be like something you put on when you clean or do something productive, that's really good as well. So yeah, that is what I would say is, so basically, you know, altogether these things are just about inspiring yourself, keeping yourself interested and engaged, I guess, like in the world and in what you want to think about, just so that you don't like slip away, and then when you slip away it just becomes a vicious cycle of, you know, feeling bad about yourself for the time that you've wasted. You know, if you do all this kind of stuff, like, you're never going to really feel like that time was wasted, because you're making yourself a more intelligent, like more confident person, hopefully, that you can then take out into the world. So I hope these tips have been helpful. Like, I'm very much in this as well. You know, I've got a lot of time and gaps to fill, and I'm, you know, learning the best ways to do this and the best way to feel good about it. And, you know, these are the things that I've found so far that have worked. I hope they work for you. Please do like and subscribe to this video if you can. And thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.